There was a period in my life where I was dealing with addiction, in particular around porn, and it was destroying my marriage, and it was destroying my relationship with my higher power, and it was destroying my relationship with myself. I was wallowing in shame, and I felt awful and felt just like a horrible human. But then, through some therapy and a lot of recovery work, I became sober. And I thought that my life was going to be better. I thought, wow, I've finally overcome this problem. I've been able to stay sober for a while, and that's fantastic. But what happened to me was surprising. Because instead of feeling better about my life, I actually became angrier. I was frustrated and angry, and honestly, I behaved in ways that were really scary for my family. I was bitter and I was resentful, and I would try to push it all down and pretend that I wasn't, but it wasn't working. It was just exploding and oozing out all over the place, and I couldn't quite figure out what in the world was going on. I had learned how to overcome this addiction, so why wasn't my life happier? And it was then that it hit me that for so many years, for decades, I had been numbing my attachment wounds of loss and rejection and abandonment and neglect and abuse. And I'd been numbing those through my different behaviors, addictive behaviors and other things that I was doing. And now that I had removed my primary source of numbing, all of that pain was coming to the surface, and I was having to deal with it, and I wasn't dealing with it very well. In fact, I wasn't dealing with it at all. And so I battled shame and felt like I was a horrible human, which had the propensity of making me want to go back and numb. And sometimes people would say, Troy, they're like, you're so mean. Why don't you go back to using? You were nicer back then. But I didn't want to, because I knew the darkness that would be for me in my life. And so I knew that I had to learn how to do something different. I knew that I had to learn how to do things differently. In fact, if I didn't, I probably wasn't going to be alive, because I was facing deep suicidal ideation at the time, just thinking, there's no way that I'm ever going to rise above this. It's going to be so painful. And it was then that I stumbled across the concept of these attachment wounds. Before that, I didn't really understand that concept. I didn't have words to describe what was going on. But in the stumbling upon and developing these attachment wounds of loss, rejection, particularly abandonment and neglect and some abuse, I began to have words to describe what was happening to me in my body, and when my rejection wound was being hit, and how I would respond to that, and how angry I would become, how defensive I would get. When my abandonment wound was being hit, how clingy and terrified and nervous I would get, and how scared I would be that the other person was going to leave and almost overpower them with my clinginess. And I began to put all of that together and realized that's really what's going on with me. I got some unresolved pain inside that I need to resolve. And that's when I really put the Finding Peace process together, so that I could learn how to heal these wounds inside of me and no longer have to pass them on to others or behave in ways that were causing suffering and heartache to the people that I loved. One of the most powerful experiences I had along this recovery journey was going to a retreat. And at that retreat, I was introduced to a new way of learning, which is not your traditional sit down at a desk at a hotel room and listen to lectures as they just talk to you for hours and hours and you just take notes. It was more interactive. It was more creative. And as I went through this retreat, I learned the power of this style of learning and the impact that it had in my life. It gave me the courage that I needed by doing that retreat to make some significant changes in my life that have now been a blessing. One of those was to open up a private practice and to do this now full time. And so as I began to think about the blessing that the Finding Peace workbook has been for people, I really wanted to find a way to share experimentally, to share this new type of learning with people in a way that would be lasting and profoundly life-changing for them. And that's why I created the Finding Peace Retreat, because I want you to no longer have to battle with those deep feelings of rage or depression or worry or resentments, to be able to find greater joy and laughter and love in your life, so you can find ways to be at peace even when hard things are happening in your life. And you wouldn't have to go through some of the challenges that I had to go through in order to figure that out. And so I created this Finding Peace Retreat. We have a lot of fun, and we laugh a lot, and we learn a lot, and we do a lot to help you learn tools and strategies to connect with your core truth and help you have the integrity and the courage to live it in a way that brings you greater peace, joy, and love in your life. So join me and those who are coming to this retreat and have a life-changing experience, a beautiful experience. Space is truly limited. The good thing is that we have now started a pre-registration process. And so if you would like to pre-register and just save your seat, the cost is relatively low. You can check the price below, but it's relatively low just to save your seat. You just need to be able to pay the final balance before the retreat happens, and your seat will be saved. So I hope you join me. Check out the testimonials of people down below there, that share what their experiences have been like. And if you have any questions, reach out to me or a member of my team. We'd be happy to discuss with you more about what you might experience at the Finding Peace Retreat. Thank you. We are bombarded from the time that we are little kids with messages that say, I'm not enough, and there's something wrong with me, and I'm flawed and defective. And those core messages get wired into our DNA. They get wired into our nervous system. And what we learn at the retreat is how to rewire those negative messages and connect with the truth that you matter, that you have a purpose, that there is light and a reason why you're on this planet, and that when you can connect with that, wow, the peace and the connection and the difference you can make in this world is profound.